Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter. Thanks for tuning in. And today I want to talk about dreams. And more specifically, I want to talk about dreams about your business, about an idea, and how and when to action them. So I talk to a lot of people, and when I bring up the topic of dreams, I get varied responses. But the majority of people have dreams and have vivid dreams about something going on in their life. Whether it be an idea, whether it be an existing business that they came up with this concept on. And then the conversation usually goes something like this. I had this dream, it was amazing. I had this awesome idea. And then I went back to bed, and when I woke up, I was trying to remember it, and I couldn't remember it, and I just kind of scrapped it. That is more often than not what I hear from people, is that they had this great idea, but they never actually wrote it down. And so what ended up happening is the dream went by the wayside. And for those of you that don't dream, or say that you don't dream, or maybe you don't remember your dreams, I'm sorry. That's unfortunate, because I have very vivid dreams, and I have very, descriptive and really pointed dreams around things going on in my life. And since a lot of my life involves business and talking about business, I think about it a lot, so therefore my dreams are about it a lot. And I have a lot of really, really detailed dreams. And I've had those nights where I go to bed, I have a dream, and I totally forget about it in the morning because it was, something that happened in my subconscious, and I don't remember it in the morning. That's funny. I'm one of those guys that doesn't sleep a ton, but when I go to bed, I fall asleep very quickly. Like often within minutes. Sometimes my wife will go brush her teeth, come back and wake me up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to hear about this dream. She's like, you've been asleep for 3 minutes. And I have this like super detailed dream that I tell her about. And then the first thing I do after that is I grab my phone and I start writing notes, or I'll send myself an email, one of the two, or occasionally I'll do a voice memo about the dream. But my point to all this is that dreams, in my view, again, I'm not a sleep scientist or doctor here, and I don't know the science behind it, but what I do know is that I've got 50 years of life and dreams that I can share my experience with you. And I believe that dreams oftentimes unlock, answers to questions that have been plaguing your mind for the last day, weeks, months, sometimes even years. And dreams are our creative way to help figure those things out. And for whatever reason, again, I'm sure there's science behind it, I don't know it, but when you're dreaming, it unlocks a part of your brain that maybe you don't know how to access when you're awake, or for whatever reason you can't access when you're awake, or you don't even know it exists when you're awake. But when in your dreams, you have access to parts of your brain that think differently, and oftentimes can be more creative, and can oftentimes find answers to major problems that you are facing. And so as you think about the dreams that you're having, if they wake you up and you're like, you have that eureka moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, you have to get out of bed, and you have to grab your phone, grab paper, anything to put down as much as you can remember about that dream, so that in the morning when you wake up and you totally forget all about it, that you have a record of it that you can hopefully piece together to try to make sense of what you were talking about. And so many people don't do this because their sleep takes over, and they don't have either the wherewithal or the motivation, or even the desire, or maybe they believe that they'll remember it anyway, to write that down. So my recommendation to everybody is, when you have that dream that wakes you up, that you kind of have that, aha moment where you're like, wow, that's a thing. Like, you got to action that. You've got to go jump out of bed, write that down, voice memo it, send yourself an email, whatever it is, so that you have a record that you can actually follow up on. So that's the most important part of it. What I have also found is that sometimes my dream isn't always the answer. It's a combination of maybe a dream I had with then, fleshing it out further the next day, or even, weeks later. And I talked about this in an earlier episode about writing everything down, which I'm a huge proponent of writing things down. But, everybody's always looking for the singular silver bullet, that one thing, that one answer, that one moment where it's going to fix everything. And a lot of times it isn't that one moment. It's a combination of moments like that, and then having the ability to then piece those things together to create that idea, that solve, that solution, whatever it is you're trying to do. And so if you don't write these things down, you're not going to have a record of it, and you can't go back and use that as kind of your compass to figure out how to solve these things. So again, my point today is really about dreams and how to action them, because I was flying back from New York recently, and I had a really late evening, well, late for me, which meant I got to the hotel just after 11, didn't get to bed until about 11:30, and I had a really early flight the next morning where I had to catch a ride at 4 a.m. And I ended up sleeping until about 2:45, which was not my goal. My goal was to sleep till about 3:30 and then wake up. But at 2:45, I woke up with this just amazing thought, this concept of this problem I was dealing with at work, and I just had this solution that just came to me. And earlier that day, I'd been walking around Manhattan, before my meeting, and gave me a lot of time to think and perspective. And what ended up happening, at least in my non-scientific brain, is that allowed me to free up a solution to a problem that I didn't know I didn't know how to solve during the day. But when I was wandering around Manhattan, maybe it freed up part of my creative brain to just kind of let loose. And then when I went to bed that night, I had just this crazy dream. And the first thing I did is I hopped out of bed and I wrote it down. And I was so excited, I actually couldn't go back to bed. So I went down to the hotel gym, hopped on the treadmill for a half hour, and just kind of thought through this idea. And as I was thinking through it, it came to me that, this is interesting, but it's not the solve. But then I went back into my notes and I found something from about 3 weeks earlier that I had written down on a different thought. It wasn't from a dream at that moment, it was just from a thought. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I took this dream and I applied it to this concept, what would that look like? And on the plane ride home, all I did was sketch this out. And I was so excited about it because it was actually that eureka moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to figure this thing out for weeks. And now I just dreamt, part of the solve, combined it with something I wrote down, and man, that was crucial. So my point today, write your dreams down, get out of bed, force yourself to do it. You will be so appreciative. While you might not have that single answer from that one moment of writing that dream down, it will come to you over time. So write it down, get out of bed, fight the resistance to go back to sleep. You will not remember it in the morning. You will thank yourself later by doing it. And that is how you ultimately become better, is you take your amazing thoughts and your amazing conscious and subconscious and put it on paper. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that have shared it, sharing is caring, and I very much appreciate you helping spread the word. Have a great day, everyone.